TLC has launched a new show called My Pregnant Husband. I've only seen the trailer for the show. I will not be watching it. It's heart-wrenching. I don't even know how to process this. What are your thoughts? Can you please help me process this? I'm just absolutely at a loss, sickened, saddened, heartbroken, even angry.
We watched the trailer because you had shared that we had this question.
Yes.
So we watched it together so we could speak to it. And does this questioner give her name?
Anne.
Anne, I relate to everything you said. I feel everything that you mentioned. How do we process this? We have to, on the one hand, recognize what is true, what is false. We have to recognize the dysfunction of our culture today. And we have to allow whatever emotions we might be experiencing. We have to land with compassion, a willingness to suffer with. Watching this trailer was disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a sense of God's order for creating us male and female,
Mm-hmm.
watching this trailer is simply disturbing. And they are trying to normalize what is not normal.
Yeah.
They're trying with intent to whittle down the culture's resistance to a natural repugnance we have
Mm-hmm.
to the very notion that a man can be pregnant. It is just impossible for a man to be pregnant. It is impossible.
These pregnant, quote, husbands are women.
Are women, yes.
And they use those, cultural terms. I was assigned female at birth, as
right.
if that somehow isn't a reality or something. And yet they have wombs that
Yes.
are, filled with life. They're women, but they are, in their whatever is going on with them psychologically and in their whole story, they want to be seen as men and kind of convincingly appear to be men. And so just the confusion that causes, and I agree with what you were saying, just the feel of the show is kind of, it has a little component of that kind of all kinds of shows that are trying to getting us inside the lives of someone that's kind of a curiosity. Right. So it has that component, but it also has this definite objective to like just really let go of all your, caution about this. And
rigid categories.
Yes, right. Yes. It's trying just to paint this as kind of a beautiful thing. And I don't want to take away the fact that a new life coming into the world, a woman pregnant, which these are women who are pregnant, is beautiful. So I don't want to take that away, but they're kind of using that to try to influence the whole culture in a way that is not beautiful. Yes.
Compassion, if we look at that word, to suffer with these human beings, these men, these women, and I say men and women because what we were showed in the trailer was these relationships. I'm assuming is that it's so confusing. I don't even know how to put words to it, which demonstrates when you can't name something, it's something's off. But anyway, regardless, these people are suffering. These people are in great agony, and we do not help them when we set up a system that writes their psychological and emotional and spiritual wounds, that writes them with scars right into their bodies. They showed this woman who had her breasts removed, and you can see the scars. And like those physical scars are a sign of the deep emotional, psychological, spiritual wound of the person. Are we willing with Christ to bear that suffering? Christ has already borne that suffering. And let's go the whole way here and say Mary at the foot of the cross bore that suffering. What is in need of redemption is precisely masculinity and femininity. It was male and female who were created in the image and likeness of God. It was male and female who fell, right? John Paul II says the original sin was the sin of the couple. It wasn't just the sin of Adam. It wasn't just the sin of Eve. It wasn't just the sin of the male or the female. It was the sin of the couple. And what suffered the blow of original sin was precisely the male-female difference. I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. What did we hide? We hid the difference. We hid the difference of male and female. We didn't cover our earlobes. We both
No.
have earlobes, right? We didn't cover our elbows. We both have elbows. We covered those parts of the body that distinguish male and female. Christ comes in as a male, born of a female, born of a woman. It is always the male and the female together to redeem masculinity and femininity. The redemption, the first miracle took place at a wedding and at the cross where the sacrifice is offered. It is the bridegroom giving up his body for the bride. Mary at the foot of the cross is the woman. She represents all of humanity as bride. Right? This goes way back into the early thinking of the fathers of the church, that Mary is the representative of the church at the foot of the cross. And inasmuch as she symbolizes the bride who becomes the mother of the living. It is the redemption of male and female. And that famous icon of Christ's resurrection, the icon of the resurrection from the East. And if you just Google Eastern icon of the resurrection, put that into Google, you'll see Jesus coming out of the grave, pulling Adam and Eve out of their graves by the hands.
Yeah.
He's came to redeem man and woman, male and female. This is what is in need of redemption. And this means he has borne in his body, and Mary with him at the foot of the cross, right? Christ is the Savior, but Mary is the saved. Right? Christ is the Redeemer, but Mary is the redeemed. The bridegroom and the bride, the new Adam and the new Eve. We have to hold them together to understand who we really are and what redemption really is. And my point in all of this is the suffering of these men and women who are so deeply confused, men who want to be women, women who want to be men. They're failing to live that integration interiorly, so they think what they need is an exterior change. Christ and Mary at the foot of the cross, they have already borne this suffering in their hearts, in their very bodies, and the redemption has already been won. I've taken it upon myself just as a little spiritual exercise recently. Instead of getting discouraged by the new horrors that just seem to be unveiled every day, struggles of the culture, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. This is a sign of what Christ has already redeemed. Instead of being, oh, it's getting worse, how about being, oh, this is what Jesus bore on the cross. Oh, this is what he came to save us from. And he's already borne it. He's already redeemed it. This is how deep the redemption goes. Am I willing to suffer with? Yes, let's be very clear. A so-called compassion or mercy that would condone the disorder of this kind of living is not true compassion. It's not true mercy. True compassion is to suffer with, to enter into that person's struggle, opening it to the grace of redemption with that person who may not be able to do that. It's an intercessory posture where we are willing to intercede with and for other people who may have no concept that this is what Christ bore on the cross. Those are just some of my thoughts.
I would just encourage Anne, who was so troubled by that trailer, to dedicate a holy hour just to that trailer. Just take your memory of it, go before the Blessed Sacrament.
It's a great idea.
And just lift up the people that you saw in your own heart to the Lord on the cross. It's so beautiful when you point out to us that in the wounds on his body, we find all the wounds of humanity.
Yes.
And so to recognize that this trailer is showing us wounded humanity, And this crucifix is showing us our God bearing our wounds. And
Yes.
so just to spend that hour in front of the Blessed Sacrament, to look at this, the treasure, the gift of Christ's body and what it means for redemption, and just to transfer to him
Yes.
from your
Yes.
heart
Yes.
the
Beautiful.
heaviness of what you've seen, give it over to him and he will receive it. That's what he's on the cross to do. And so that we can just surrender. And that's the call of intercession. It doesn't have to become your whole life. He may want just that hour of you turning it over to him and work grace through that in your life and in other people's
That's
lives.
beautiful, Wendy. I'll share one more thought for Anne. Anne, you may be aware, you may not, that I redid my Good News About Sex and Marriage book just a year and a half ago with a new edition and a brand new chapter addressing these identity confusion issues. So the Q&A book went up from 115 questions to 150 questions with that brand new chapter. So we'll have a link in the show notes. You might want to give that a read. I think you'll find it very helpful.
Yes. Good News About Sex and Marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.